So today, I did not record a video yesterday because it was the evening by the time I wanted to, and it was kind of like a holiday. It was the second Passover. The idea that we always have another chance. At the time of the original Passover in the Bible, in the Torah, some of the individuals had become impure by burying a person, even though they were doing the right thing and they were honoring the person. As the Torah says, they could not offer the sacrifice. So, or they could not celebrate the holiday. So there's a second chance given. In this case, it's 1 month after the first. The first is 7 days. The second was only 1 day. So I ate some matzah today, and I'd given blood yesterday, so I had to take it easy. So I did not want to record the video at night, even though that would have been for yesterday, because it was already like a holiday. So I waited till tonight. Now I'm recording the video for yesterday, and I didn't do one today because it was a holiday. So that's a little bit of intro. I want to share a couple things here. One is, when we think of our lymph, lympha being water, the lymph is the colorless fluid of the circulatory system. It's like our bone marrow makes new lymphocytes, and also the nodes in our body, and it clears by absorption excess fluid, and its absorption in the blood to blood immunity and absorption of fat. It delivers immune cells, carries out debris from the cells and the bacteria. And when we look in the Talmud, we see that the spleen is seen as a source of laughter. It includes the lymph nodes, tonsils, thymus, the spleen, and is responsible for removing interstitial fluid from the tissues. I want to say that all this that I'm sharing here is not actually from, a medical textbook. It's from Quantum Torah, a website from Alexander Poltorak. And he makes the comment now, how to bring it into the Jewish connection. The karbanos, remember I mentioned the sacrifice, the offering for Passover, all of them are the oxidation, and the priests are like the blood. The high priest, the Kohen Gadol, is like the heart. The menorah is like burning calories to keep us warm, which is like when oxygen is delivered to the cells. And when we have a rabbi, Reish Beis Yud, Rosh B'nai Yisrael, it's an acronym, the head of the children of Israel, or Israel being the name of Yaakov, or Yashar El, which is straight to God. The Leviim, the Levites, the special tribe of the Kohanim, but not the actual priests, without a chief Levite, there's no main organ like a heart. Like the lymph moves the muscles via the muscles, and like when we are active, then our lymph moves. The lymph vessels contract, and the lymph absorbs about 3 liters from interstitial fluid. Interstitial means between the spaces of the cells and the organs and so on. Because the circulatory system processes about 20 liters of blood per day. About 17 liters of plasma get reabsorbed directly in the blood. And the Leviim subserve the Kohanim, the priests, the Levites, and the lymph subserves the blood. The Leviim used to do the water libations. This is considered the most joyous event. It says in the Talmud, he who has not witnessed Simchas Pesach Shoeva, or actually the festival of the celebration of the water libation, has never seen happiness in his life. The Leviim carried vessels, which are parts of the disassembled Mishkan, the tabernacle, the sanctuary in the wilderness. And like lymphocytes, they carry white blood cells, fat, protein, and debris. The T cells, which make up our adaptive immunity, special lymphocytes, guard against invasion. The Levium guard the Beis Hamikdash, the holy. After the sanctuary in the wilderness, there was the first temple, the second temple, the house, the holy house, right? Like the house of God. So they guarded it. And then the T cells that are immature, they reach maturation in the thymus, and then work in streams, and then retire in the lymph, in the lymphatic streams. And the Levites, they serve in the temple only from 25 to 50 and then retire and help others to guard. So before that, they're maturing. And we're all united. We're all part of one body. There's one circulation with everyone. And I want to share a couple other topics. One is express, don't obsess. What do I mean by that? When we trust God, we can trust ourselves, then we can trust others. When even I want to give an example of Esther, Queen Esther from the Purim story, which I've done a video and it's all over the place. You could look on Google. She was chosen by Ahasuerus looking for a queen. He had killed his wife. They had a beauty pageant. Somehow she was chosen. Somehow she and she was able to save her people, the Jewish people. It was all miraculous. Looking in hindsight, it was all miracles. She had Chatach, who was a eunuch, who went between her and Mordechai, her uncle or husband, depending on which commentary interpreter, and Chagai, the keeper of the woman. And Hashem made them find favor in their eyes for her, and they facilitated God, and they facilitated the ability and opportunity she had to use her position to save her people and stand for justice. And yes, she did self-sacrifice. She wasn't among her people while they celebrated. She was still in the palace with this king. And so at every moment, we could trust. What does it mean to trust? It means to let go of things that need to be figured out. And when I say figured out, I mean digested physically also. Like, we could literally say most people are walking around full of feces because the food is not fully digested. It has to be eliminated, right? And they're full of unprocessed material. They're talking out of the mixed bag. And this is the idea of waste. This is the idea that after Adam and Chava ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, there now was brought death, waste into the world. And we try to do conservation of energy. We try not to have waste. We try to not be negligent or careless with our consumption. We want to really, that's a very high level. That's a mastery, right? And yet, when we don't act on our needs, we end up acting out eventually. And to know that our needs are not sinful or bad, like in Hebrew, tselem is image and sal is shadow. So tsalmavas is the shadow of death, and tselem elokim is the image of the highest power, image of God. So image of the Most High. So we're both in the image of the Most High, and there's the shadow of death on life. So the most important thing is not to obsess about something, but to express our needs, and in that way sometimes to let go. So we don't want to hold in waste. We want to let go of everything we don't need, and therefore we can make a practice of not taking in more than we need so that we don't have too much waste. And I would like to finish with a few I don't know if they're disjointed, but like a few parts to this. So let's say someone feels desperate, right? We're talking about, don't obsess, don't take more. What if you need, it feels desperate, right? That feeling. So we have to ask ourselves, it's called self-inquiry. What am I desperate to start? So I wrote gracefulness, independence, tolerating limbo states, reflection, positive bias mentality, getting paid to teach and type my books and for my art, all effortlessly, more direct abilities to adopt with possibility in the God field. Now, isn't that something interesting? We would have thought I was desperate for that piece of chocolate cake, God forbid. But if we went under it and we look, what am I really desperate to start? We can go on and on. There's so much. And that really, really helps to let go of these narrowing of our needs and make us obsess. It's really because this chocolate cake can't bring us the fulfillment that everything I listed. And I'm not saying mine is yours. You could do your own work. Then there's the question, what am I desperate to end? Asking for charity, mass resistance to change, calling myself ugly, fat, hairy, deformed, a burden, anger, impulsive reaction of frustration that are from repression or confusion. And there we see the desperation of I need to start something, I need to end something. Or now, what am I desperate to receive? Financial support, space, the absence of change, investment, benefit of the doubt. I want to bring in for a second space. The absence of change means that there's nothing happening in it, but that's only to the visible eye. In fact, in empty space, there's a field, according to quantum mechanics, quantum physics, that still has fluctuations, okay? But the absence of change being that the particles could have been taken out that might be causing waste or, radioactive decay, which in other words is waste. It's radiating off of it, the decay, that shadow of death. Investment, benefit of the doubt, curiosity, pleasure, relief from pain and tension, transparency, forgiveness, courage, authenticity, service, worship. What am I desperate to give? Time as change. So here, time is things are moving, and how do we know, what are we measuring that's moving? Change. Someone getting born, their body's changing, the cells, the mountains changing. We can measure time through change. Submission, trust. I want to give this, right? Animal of desiring and attachment and pulsing movement, shameless craving of union embodied, confidently, sexual expression. And I want to share Dolly Parton says, find out who you are and do it on purpose. And when we think of our memory and we think of Wi-Fi, there's this idea of connection, information, floating between floating between us and like this hovering sort of field. We think of a field. Memory could be like a field. So find out who you are. It's who you remember to be, right? It's like your connection, your information, what's floating between everybody, hovering, invisible, permeating. And I also like to think, of myself as like the self that I'm willing to remember. And if we are carrying around versions of us, it's like waste, because all of them have needs, and we may not know where we want to give or receive or what do we want to start, but if we clarify and kind of as little waste as possible and kind of bring all of ourselves together and have that circulation in our own self like the lymph, then we could really know who we are and achieve, and like not achieve, but like all that I listed for me, the desperation, it's gone. It becomes an expression of my true self. Wishing you a beautiful new beginning, another chance after the second Passover, Pesach Sheni, that, there should be motivation, energy, dignity, grace, clarity, peace, and love, and partnership, and light, and life, and oneness, and for the sake of the mission with God, and knowing our true value, and everyone knowing that they are light, how light they really are, how light we each really are, and how our words are light, and the effect that the light has.